Hello everyone and welcome along to the latest episode of the Turfcast podcast with me, Joe Redmond, as we look ahead to the Leeds United game, which is taking place on Sunday, the 2nd of January, 2022. I think kickoff is at 2 p.m. It's, of course, an away game at Ellen Road. Big one, this one. Leeds currently 5 points above us in the Premier League. If they win, they pull away from us. If we win, they drag them back into it. A draw keeps them within touching distance, but they'll be happier with a draw than we will. I think we need to. This needs to be the game where we need to really start showing the fact that we're serious about stopping up. For me, I think if we go to this one and put in another performance like we did against Newcastle, where we just can't be arsed, I don't mind if they go there and get beat and play really well and create chances and Woody maybe bags a couple, and that hopefully that turns his season around, but. They go to Ellen Road like they did when they went to St James's Park and just put in an absolute shambles of performance where they just can't be bothered, no desire, no heart, nothing. Then I'll really be very, very surprised if we manage to get out of this. But this needs to be the game where they proper start, showing the world that they are serious about staying up. Obviously, no news on Cornet yet. Obviously, we played at the time of recording this. This is, what day is it? Friday, the 31st of December. I think Sean Dyche's pre-match thing is tomorrow. So no word on Cornet yet. Obviously, he wasn't featured in the defeat at Manchester United. And of course, Nick Pope wasn't. But let's talk about that because Nick Pope was obviously out. And when Hennessy come in, he did very, very well. So, I wouldn't be too bothered if he's still out for the Leeds game. Obviously, I want him back in the side. And if Pope is back from COVID, then fingers crossed he is. And Dyche puts him in the side. I would rather have him there than Hennessy. But I'm not overly worried. Like normally if Pope's out, I'm like, for God's sake, Pope's out, we're going to get beat. But now I'd be like, Hennessy's decent. He played well at United and made some good saves. But Aaron Lennon, the other person that came in, there was a lot of eyebrows raised, including myself. I'm not one of them to go slagging him off on Twitter, though, which I think a lot of people should stop doing. But as soon as the name Aaron Lennon was on the team sheet, a lot of people say, for God's sake, it's 2022 and Aaron Lennon's playing football, or it's nearly 2022, should I say, and Aaron Lennon's starting a game in the Premier League. He was fantastic. He was absolutely fantastic in that number 10 role. I will fully admit when he plays on the wing, which is where Dyche has played him every other time, I think, he goes missing. Not to the level that Goodmanson goes missing. While that man is still starting, that's another thing. People get more annoyed that Lennon started than Goodmanson. We need to, Goodmanson needs to be the one that's dropped for a little bit. But Lennon was fantastic in that number 10 role. A lot of people have been crying out for like Dwight McNeil in that number 10 role. I think maybe Lennon is the answer for when Cornet goes to AFCON. Obviously, I would rather have Cornet back again. It would be harsh to drop Lennon after his performance at Old Trafford. But for me, if Cornet is back, obviously, I think 99.99% of people will agree with me. If he's back, then we stick him in that number 10 role alongside Wood. But he's another person I want to talk about. And I've just said it in my interview with the Leeds fan that you can hear in a minute. I will die on the Chris Wood hill and I've done for years, but I think right now I'm happy to sort of like say he's not good enough at the minute. He needs to be dropped. He needs a rest. He didn't get a rest in the summer, did he? Because the season finished in late July, early August, was it? I can't remember. I think it was late July, weren't it? And then he's carted off, to New Zealand straight away to meet up with his squad. Then he's, has to go back to Japan. Go to Japan to play in the Olympics, and he's there for 3.5, 4 weeks because they did quite well, didn't they? They got to the quarterfinals. Then after that, he goes back to New Zealand for whatever. I think he went to see family as well. Then he's come back to Burnley to get straight started into pre-season. So I'm not one of these people that's going to start going, oh, Chris Wood is shit. He's been the leading goal scorer in the Premier League for the past 3-4 seasons. He's obviously not shit. He's the best striker that we have. But right now, he's not playing very, very well. He needs to be dropped badly. I wouldn't drop him for the Leeds game, though. I know a few people have been saying that they would do. Simply because it should give him, that extra bit of fire in his belly playing against his old club, and he's going to get a bit of stick. So fingers crossed that fires him. But, he had a couple of chances again at Old Trafford and he's missed him again. Not clear-cut chances, to be fair, but, he's had a couple of chances. He had a chance as well where he should have laid Lennon off it and he messed that up. So I just think, I've said it time and time again, he is such a confidence player. When it's not going well for him, I just feel like it's just not going well and he couldn't hit a barn door. But when it's going well for him, anything he touches turns to gold. He's the most confident player I've ever seen. So I'd play him for the Leeds game. And hopefully, like I said, given that fire in his belly, then I wouldn't play him for a while if he's dog shit again in that. I'd rest him. But anyway, let's get into the pre-game chat. I am joined by Leeds United fan Aaron, who is from LS11. Right, and just like that, as promised, joining us now to give us a Leeds United perspective is Aaron from the LS11 podcast and YouTube channel. How you doing, mate? You all right?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks yourself. I've just asked you that question. Ignore that. But yeah, we're just talking off air, weren't we? You've had COVID over Christmas. So are you feeling better, mate?
Yeah, I'm feeling a lot better. I'll tell you now. It knocked me out. I'm not going to lie to you. So, but yeah, I'm a lot better, thank you, and on the road to recovery.
Fair enough. Well, people like us see football as sort of like a bit of an escapism. Normally, it can help us, these sort of things. You got COVID, you can go into football, you can escape through it. Obviously, that's what it's all about. But not so much for Burnley and Leeds fans this season. I think going to the footballs is making it worse, especially for Burnley. I think you won't be too far behind us in that sort of respect. But talk to me about your season so far, because just looking at the Premier League table, obviously you're not that far above us. We're 18th. Abysmal season, 1 win all season, 11 points. You've done a bit better, You've seen your team win 3 times, only seen your team lose 8 times, which, to be fair, is one more than us. But you've played 2 games more. But you're 2 positions above us and 5 points above us in the league table. So, sum up your season so far for us, mate.
Injuries. I think we've really struggled with injuries so far this season, and to be fair, I think we've been a bit unlucky. We're missing, key players for us. The likes of Bamford, Phillips, even Liam Cooper, our captain. It was so key for us. But we just haven't had a fully fit squad, to be honest, pal. And I think that's what's really hampered our season so far.
Yeah. Are you thinking that you're going to be all right then, or are you looking over your shoulder a little bit weird? I think for Leeds, when I look at Leeds, I think you remind me of us last season. In danger, but 3 worse teams and probably will be okay. Like, Norwich had gone for me.
Yeah.
Newcastle have obviously got the lifeline of the money. If they didn't have the money, I'd be 100% convinced that they were gone. Us, I was saying to everybody, we need to get to January the 15th and then have progressed a little bit. But then all our games have been called off. So that's our saving grace, is the games in hand. But I've been watching us play recently and I'm not convinced. I'm starting to get a little bit worried, but I'm still not saying we're down just yet. And then there's Watford as well, who've got like one good player in that Dennis. And well, I was going to say you were going to AFCON, but apparently I think Watford have blocked it. I'm not really sure what's gone on there, but he's not going now. So, but the point is, I can't see them teams putting some wins together and catching you. How are you feeling about relegation? Are you all right?
Well, to be fair, it's not really concerned me, because I know we've got some decent players, and once we've got a fully fit squad, we can beat anybody in the league, and we showed that last season. Once we've got a fully fit squad, we can go away and take points from anybody. But I think what worries me in the short term is our injury crisis. And I was listening to Bielsa this morning. Cooper and Phillips not going to be back till March, so I think our owner is going to have to get his hands in his pockets really, and try and get a few players in January to really help us out. And I know Bielsa likes that small squad mentality, but for me, I think we need to really get his hands in his pockets and really strengthen this January.
Where are we looking to strengthen then? Are you looking to strengthen them positions where players like Cooper and Phillips are injured, and obviously you, because when I think of Leeds, I think back to the game last season at the Turf where you battered us, and Phillips, he just made everything tick that game. So you'll know more about Leeds than me, but it felt like he was the heart. He's basically your Declan Rice for what West Ham is, and I feel like you are massively missing him. And when I saw the news today that he was out, I like Phillips, and I'm a big England fan. But I was buzzing that he were missing the Burnley game. So do you think you're going to strengthen in them 2 areas, or maybe some other areas?
Yeah, I think there's 2 areas. The defensive midfield area for cover for Phillips, I think is a key area, and I think a creative midfielder as well. I know we've got Adam Forshaw back, but he's had 2 years out, and he's shown signs of brilliance. But I just think for a Premier League campaign, you need to have that little bit more quality in that pitch, so in that area of the pitch. So yeah, I think there's just 2 areas. I think we'll probably bring another defender as well, and maybe another striker, because we've got Bamford. He's potentially coming back for the Burnley game. He's not there yet, and then we've got the young Gelhardt as well. And obviously we've got Rodrigo. He's always injured. So yeah, it's a tough one really, and I genuinely do feel that Bielsa doesn't go into the January window with much optimism, but I think this year he'll have to go into it.
Yeah, well, it's a tough time though, isn't it? I think we're in a similar position because we've got Chris Wood up top, who's not injured, but he might as well be. He's playing like he is. And then you've got Maxwell Corney, who's easily the best player in the squad, but he seems like he's a bit of a Stephen Defoe and Robert Brady, where he's made of glass. So I think we're going to have to go into the January transfer window and maybe strengthen in some areas. But it's too difficult, isn't it, the January transfer window? I mean, you're a club that is known recently for, spending a bit of money, but Burnley have never been that club. So I go into January and think, well, what's the point? We're not going to get anyone decent in. So are you confident you can bring some players in?
I hope so. I know we've been linked with a couple of players, mainly from the Championship. Been looking at Swift from Reading and is it Diaz from Blackburn? We've been seen to be linked.
Please
with
sign him, mate. They can't come up. Please sign him. I would love it. Please sign him.
The problem is though with those, Blackburn, they're looking for promotion. They're not going to let their star player go. Not when they've got 150 million potentially come May.
Yeah, that's my worry. But Mowbray said something about 2 weeks ago saying we may have to sell some stars in January. So
really,
yeah. It's daft, isn't it? You got the potential of 150 million quid for coming up, and you might get 15, 20 million for Diaz. I mean, he is the reason why they're doing so well. I don't want to go too into it. I'm not talking about Blackburn for too long. It's like half a season wonder. So can he cut it in the Prem? Who knows? But if someone takes a chance on him, I'd be buzzing with that.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen a little bits of him. I think he could do a job. But again, with Bielsa, he likes to get these players in, and if he did come in January, he probably won't start till probably March because he'll want.
I totally get that. Dyche
he'll want to get him trained up and see him and things. So yeah, it's a tough one January for us, and we've never really been in this position before as Leeds fans. Under Bielsa, we used to winning quite a lot and doing well, and the last games, I think COVID has been a bit of a blessing for us, just to allow us to bring some players back. But what I don't like about this is that you guys, I think you've got 3 games in hand on us, haven't you?
But I'd rather be in your position. Like people say this, like, oh, Burnley got these games in hand now. So it was good in a way because Watford and Newcastle carried on playing and they lost every single game. So that helped us. But obviously you guys did you have 1 called off?
We've had 2. Yeah. We've had Liverpool and Villa off.
Yeah. Well, we've had 4 overall, but 1 was because of the weather at home to Spurs. Then we've got games at home to Watford and Everton, which are both winnable, and then 1 away to Villa, which maybe a point at best. But I'd rather have played them games already and have the wins. I'd rather have points on the board like you guys. I'd rather be in your position right now than I was. Put it that way. But people are looking at that and saying, "Oh, look, they've got a few games in hand, but we have to win them yet." You know what I mean? And we're not playing too well. So
well, no, I watched you guys last night against Manchester United. I didn't think you did too bad, to be fair.
It were a weird game, mate. We played like a Chris Wood. Like I love him to bits. Like I've died on the Chris Wood hill so many times defending him because Burnley fans always slag him off because he's a big lump and stuff like that. And he looks slow when he's running. That's just because he's big. But this season he's been gash. He's been terrible. He's such a confidence player, and he was at Leeds as well. If he's on a bad run, he's dreadful. But if he's on a good run, like anything he hits goes it back at net. He needs a couple of goals. If he goes to Ellen Road and gets a bit of stick and then sticks one it back at net or something, that could turn his season around. Really, really need it. But yeah, I agree with you, mate. We played okay. We just had a bit of a mad 35 minutes defensively, but we created so many chances. We just don't seem to have someone with enough quality to stick it in back at net. Back of the net at the minute.
You got Aaron Lennon. Great finish.
Where did that come from? I seen the team sheet. And I was like, 2022 in 2 days, and we're starting Aaron Lennon and Wayne Hennessy, and they were the best 2 players on the pitch. For us, sorry, they were the best 2 players, Burnley players on the pitch. So I am a little bit. I was worried. Like I'm thinking, we need Cornet back for Leeds because it's such a big game, and we definitely need Pope in the net for Leeds because it's such a big game. We can't lose at Leeds. If we lose at Leeds, and obviously you go 8 points ahead of us, we can pretty much count you out. So we need to bring you back into it.
This game it's become probably the biggest game of the season so far for both sides, really. And I wasn't really pinpointing this as when you look at the fixture list, this could be a potential big game, but it's all of a sudden with COVID and postponements and things, and where we are in the league table, it's arguably the biggest game of the season, I think, for both sides.
Yeah. I think it's a must not lose for you. I think if you draw and keep us at 5 points, I think that's better result for you than it is for us. I think we need to win to drag you back into it. But I've not seen much to say that we are going to win, but I've not seen much from you either to say that we are going to win. But we'll get into predictions in a minute. I do want to talk to you about your form because it isn't the best. And I don't want to, bring some old memories up and things like that. But if you look on the screen now, there are your latest results. Obviously, you got beat 4-1 at Arsenal. You can have that one because of, obviously, the COVID situation. The 7-0 at Man City. That's obviously the one I don't really want to bring up, the bad memory and stuff. The 3-2 at Chelsea, now I watched that one. You played very well in that one. So I look at that one and I think, I'm watching that thinking Leeds will be all right, they'll be all right. But then obviously the other two, you're playing against good sides with good injuries, but I still would have liked to see more defensively. But then there's the draw at home to Brentford. I didn't watch that one, so I'm not sure on that one. A good win against Palace and then the 0-0 at Brighton. What do you make of your last 6 results?
The standout for me, because I was at that game, I was at Chelsea for that one. Chelsea when they beat us 3-2, and I think we were robbed.
Yeah, that was never a penalty. I was talking in a WhatsApp group. I was saying I never say this sentence much, but I felt sorry for Leeds fans there because that was never a penalty in a million years. You wouldn't have got that, for example, if it was
the Chelsea game. We were tactically spot on, and it was probably our performance of the season so far. And we played exceptionally well, and we were unlucky not to come away with at least a point. So I'd say that was, other than obviously on the screen it looks like it's a defeat, but I don't think that the scoreline gives it any justice. Brighton, I think we were lucky. We were extremely lucky to come away with them because they absolutely battered us. Palace, they were nothing special. We looked in total control with that game. Brentford, again, similar to that. I think the draw, we should have really beaten them. That's definitely 2 points dropped. Well, Man City 7-0. Listen, it could have been PSG that night against them, and they probably still will have steamrolled them because they were just so on fire. They are by far the best team in the division,
easily.
And 7-0, it is what it is. But they're going to win the league. It's beyond. They're just too good.
Yeah, they're just they're ridiculously good, and they've got ridiculous depth. They're just so much better than everybody else. But we've been on the receiving end of a few City defeats. It's a running joke in Burnley and amongst Burnley fans. You go to City, you get beat 5-0, you go home. It happens to every team every now and then. And obviously there was a 4-1 at Arsenal, which I think you can just write that one off because you've got so many injuries and stuff. So
exactly. We had kids playing. To be fair, that should have been postponed, but it is what it is. We've got it out of the way, and we've played them, and we'll just beat them at the Emirates when we go down there.
Yeah, fair enough. You mentioned you watched Burnley last night, and you give sort of like a decent little summary of it. Have you watched as much other times this season? What have you made of us so far this season? Obviously, not in the position that we want to be.
Yeah, I was at the Burnley Leeds game right at the start of the season. I think we were really lucky to come away with a point for that one.
I think both teams were poor. Two poor goals, two poor teams.
And I will be honest with you, it reminded me of the Championship. Back in the Championship days, because there's just no quality on the pitch. But for Burnley, for me, they'll just grind out results. You've got your two big units at the back. You've got me and Tarkowski. Once you get Cornet on, singing and dancing, and Wood, Aaron Lennon, you're absolutely fine. I think you guys will be fine. I really do. I think you always seem to scrape out at you'll always get out of the situation when you've got Dyche there. He's Prunone, regular 17th finisher or above, he'll get the job done. And I don't know, it's interesting hearing it from you guys saying that you think you were a bit worried, but I genuinely are. I think there's three worse teams in the division.
It's for opposition fans always say, nah, it's just Burnley, you'll grind it out, you always do, but I don't know, when you're involved in it and you're in this position and you're seeing them have like a mad 35 minutes defensively like they did last night, we've done it so many times where we've been 1-0 up this season and end up losing 2-1, 3-1. That's just not Burnley. That's my worry. That's just not Burnley. We've been in positions where we should have picked up points. And I do think we're in a false position. I do think we deserve to be higher. But that's also the worry. And, we've been playing well in games and not picking up. But recently, the last 4 or 5 games, we haven't been playing so well. We got beat against Newcastle, for God's sake. You know what I mean? We were dreadful that game. And that's what worries me. We had a massive game against Newcastle. When we went into it, showed no desire, nothing, and they were terrible. Now we've got another massive game coming up. Are we going to go into that showing no desire again? So fingers crossed, obviously, we pull it out of the bag. Obviously, we've mentioned injuries. You've mentioned Bamford might be on the way back. Obviously, Cooper's out. Phillips is out. Is there anything else to know? Anything that you said Bielsa's been speaking this morning? What else has he said in terms of injuries? Anyone coming back? Anyone else out?
We've got a couple of young players out. So we've got Shackleton's out. He's one of our young kind of right back. He'll fit into midfield as well. We've got Cresswell out, young 18-year-old defender. He's probably out. So, we've got some. We've just played with injuries. We've got Llorente coming back. I think that's decent. But then, it's a tough one for us. With so many injuries and COVID, we just don't really know. Could have a lot of kids playing on Sunday. We don't really know. But yeah, I was watching you guys last night, and I'm sure I was reading on Twitter that if you guys pick up an injury or you get a COVID case, that could potentially be postponed.
Well, I don't know. Dyche seems to be one of their managers, and big respect to Leeds for this. But you've had the chance where you probably could have gone crying to the Premier League, like Everton did, like Watford did, like Villa have, like Newcastle have, and you could have got it called off. Dyche sort of like said in his interviews, sort of like said that we'll just get on with it, sort of vibe. So obviously, if it gets to a point where we literally cannot field a team, then who knows, we might do. But I think we had 7 first teamers out last night. So I think we probably could have had that one called off if we wanted to. So we probably could get Sunday called off if we want to, but I don't think we're one of them clubs like Leeds who's going to go crying to the Premier League and do it. So unless it gets to the stage where we physically cannot do it, then who knows, we might do. But quite a few players out yesterday. But Hennessy and Lennon came in and they were the two that did very well. So fingers crossed they can do it again on Sunday. But you mentioned Bamford earlier as well. What's the latest with him then? You think he's going to be back, or is he just going to be on the bench and maybe be brought in later on?
I'd imagine, I think for him, because I think he's such a big player for us, I think we threw him in for the Brentford draw. He got a last-minute draw for us, last-minute goal, and he then picked up a hamstring injury, celebrating. So I think for him, he's such a big player for us, and not just in terms of scoring goals, but the way we press, the way we play. He's so vital to this team. I think he'll probably be on the bench. I can't see him starting because I don't think Bielsa will risk him. I think he will get some minutes though. He might get 15, 20 minutes or something. Again, I think we'll probably see Gelhardt or Roberts start up front for us on Sunday.
Fair enough. What's happening with Raphinha as well? Because there's rumours, he's being sold. Is he in the team? Is he playing, or what's going on with that?
Yeah, he's in the team. He's going nowhere though. I've seen on Twitter, some from a couple of sources from Philly, etc., saying that they're looking to try and tie Phillips and Raphinha down to some longer term contracts. Yeah. So I think it's just you get it at this time of year, don't you?
Of course.
You're going to say your best players will be linked, but if they're offering 50 million quid, I tell you what, they need to double it at least for Raphinha because he is our standout player so far. And why get rid of your best player when you arguably at the minute, when you look at the table position, you're fighting to stay in the division. Why get rid of your best player?
Yeah, I agree with that. It won't make any sense unless he wanted to leave. But
it seems quite settled and seems quite happy. But he is a great player, Raphinha. He's a real talent. I want him to stay at Leeds next year. So when World Cup in 2022, we've just we've got a Brazilian who plays for Leeds and he's in the World Cup.
Yeah, fair enough.
Worthwhile watching.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's get into predictions then. I'm going to predict similar to the game at the Turf this season. I think it's going to be a better game for you than it is for us. I'm just going for a 0-0. I just think both teams are lacking in quality at the minute. You've got so many players missing. My worry is that Raphinha's there and he could be the key. All you need is a moment of magic from him. But fingers crossed, Cornet's back and he can do something similar for us. But yeah, I'm just going to go 0-0. Two poor teams with a lot of injuries, a lot of first teamers out, lacking in confidence, both sides. I don't think it's going to be one for the purists. I think we're both going to be quite bored by the end of it. But in a weird way, even though I fully admit that a point is better for you than it is for us, I probably would take it. I just want to start getting some points on the board and then maybe going into the Leicester game in a couple of weeks and trying to get something there. But we'll see. What about you?
It's difficult because obviously you played last night. For us, I haven't really seen them over the Christmas period. I'm going to go for a 1-0 win for Leeds, just because I think, a couple of players have come out and said, we're going to come back stronger. This week off has done us good. We've got key players back. So yeah, I'm just going to sneaky feeling that Leeds will just take this one, but it's not going to be an easy game. It's going to be very, very difficult.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, at least you didn't predict a 4-0 win this time like you did last time, eh? So I'll take that. Yeah. We must have improved, or you've got worse. Both.
Both, yeah.
Yeah, both. But yeah, do you just want to, before we wrap it all up, you just want to plug where people can find you and LS11 and the lads that run LS11?
Oh, well, we're here and everywhere. We're on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, LS11, Leeds United fan channel, and we're there, really. So all our stuff's in there. It's great.
Nice one, mate. And thanks for coming on Turfcast. Always a pleasure to chat to you. Always a good talker, mate.
Cheers, buddy. Thank you.